Hey, all you cool cats and kittens, this is your old pal Lord Dixie, no relation, here at Dead Sexy Radio, and I'm doing a book review! A book review! I was gonna do this live, but unfortunately, you need 1,000 subscribers to do a live video. So I'm not gonna do a live video, and I don't have a script because I planned on doing this live without a script. So bear with me as I fuddle and fuck my way through this book review. Uh, and work toward doing movie reviews. And I hate shouting like that, so I'm probably not going to do that anymore. But anyway, I'm doing a review for a book which I recently read. I read it over the weekend. I wrote a review for Amazon that was pulled because I said I was too personal, and I broke their rules about being personal. So I'm going to do a fair, promise, cross my heart, fair book review, but I am going to get a little bit personal because this is a personal matter. The book is Shadowman versus the Undead by William Pattison, aka Eric Morse, or Morris, however he pronounces his name this week. It's Eric Morse. I read it last week. I bought an ARC copy, advanced reader copy. I did not buy it. It was given to me by one of his friends who he gave it to, and then went on a ranting tirade because his friend did not review it and said he didn't have time, and said, do you want to review it? And you can have this, but only if you're fair. Only if you don't just dog him out for the sake of dogging him out. And I don't do that in reviews. I will dog William out on a personal basis, but on the book review, I'm going to be as straight up as I can. Now, the book in question, Shadowman versus the Undead, is part of his Symphony of Death series. It is a series of short ebooks. I believe he does sell physical copies through Amazon's Creator Studios, whatever. Even though he has his own publishing company that he created called William C. Pattison, whatever, blah 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 blah. Doesn't matter. The book is up on the internet. You can buy it. It's $2.99. You can. I probably won't put my Amazon link up, although you're welcome to buy it and read it for yourself. My thoughts. So, as I was saying, it is Symphony of Death Part 4, Shadowman versus the Undead. The overlying wraparound of the series is this musical symphony that was written and is cursed, and whoever plays the symphony dies. Whoever owns a symphony, touches it, whatever, dies, goes insane and dies. I read one other part of it. I read Robert Diablo, which I believe was either part 1 or a prelude, although when you do a prelude, it's just called part 1. It was one of the worst short stories I've ever read. No joke. There is a written review up at Amazon.com. If you look up Robert Diablo, or if you look up Robert Diablo, you're probably not going to find it. If you look up William Pattison, you can then go back and find the book. It's one of the worst, horribly written short stories ever. It is a manifesto of the author's hatred of certain people, and you can almost, without looking, pick out the real life people who he's insulting and screaming about and calling names. Shadowman vs. the Undead is the 4th series. I haven't read 2 and 3 because number 1 was so freaking bad that I had no plans to read anything else. It's not even worth making fun of doing a review. It was that bad. But someone gave me this book on the condition, lost my words, on the condition that I do a review. So I'm doing a review. The book opens with another continuation of the wraparound Sympathy of Death, where you have, and I forget these sections out of order, it doesn't matter. Claude Lamont, who I'm not sure who he stole that from, is in control of the Sympathy of Death. He does a short recap of, I don't think he really mentions Robert Diablo, but a short recap of the history of the Symphony of Death and how the author went insane, and the author's wife, Kathleen, based on Kathleen Wilhoit, went insane, and all this, and it leads into Danny Dark and the Symphony of Death, and Danny Dark is performing the Symphony of Death, And like I said, if I got this out of order, what the fuck? Danny Dark is, of course, named after Danny Knight, modeled on Danny Knight, who is a critic of William, who William has hated in the past. I don't know how he feels about him right now. Danny Dark is a rock musician performing the Symphony of Death, and as he performs the symphony, he will fall unconscious, and that will lead into the main story of the series. Now, the Danny Dark segment is, once again, it's just not a very good segment. It's William, the author, trying to write a British person with very little intelligence about how a British person, and that's not a knock on him, I'm very little knowledge. Let me say, very little knowledge of how a British person actually talks, actually their word usage, their vocabulary. The only way we really know Danny as a Brit is because he keeps saying wanker. He says wanker in every other sentence, and that's the only cue that he's a British person. His ex-wife's name is Noosh, and that's sounds like, well, that's a really weird name for a character's wife because she is, of course, based on Manouche. I believe her last name is Valdez, and I could be wrong on that. She is a independent actress. I'm not sure what ethnicity she is, but William makes her, whenever she says you, it's you are. And I'm not sure how that's even supposed to be pronounced to get any type of, to glean any information about what her ethnicity or nationality is. And she's not important to the story. And Danny Dark's really not even important to the story. It's just a few pages of him passing out and waking up and playing rock and roll, which you don't hear him and his guitarist Wayne, who is based on Wayne Golden, who used to be a friend of William's, who realized William was crazy and kind of broke out their friendship. So you basically have Danny Dark passes out. He goes back to his room. He gets back on stage. He starts to play again, and you see the ghosts from the different stories appear in front of him. Well and good. It's not anything of literary note. It's not horribly written, other than there's zero character building even over the four stories. I mean, like I said, you wouldn't even know this guy's a rock and roller other than he gets on stage and he goes back into his dressing room and he screams at people and screams the same words over and over again. What am I paying you for? Or what did I hire you for? Which leads into the Symphony of Death, except there's another short called Executive Assistants. I don't know why he added this on. It has absolutely nothing to do with the other short story in the book. Maybe it's going to tie into the greater story. Maybe it doesn't. But executive assistance is about Levy, I guess, Jackson. Maybe that's supposed to be Levi, Levy. I don't know. Levy. That spells Levy. Actually, Levy is Levee, I believe, but no, it's close. Who knows? Levy is a black man. The only reason we know Levy is a black man is because he wears bright, colorful suits, and at some point, William says he's a black guy. And I had already figured that out because he wears bright, colorful suits. And just like the British, this is a white author who is trying to write a black character when he knows absolutely nothing about black culture, other than the fact that black people like to wear colorful suits. So Levy is always wearing colorful suits, even though he's a high-powered record executive. He wears bright purple suits. And it turns out Levy is also a descendant of Marie Laveau, which has absolutely nothing to do with the story, except Levy walks out of his office and flies from San Francisco to New Orleans to go to Marie Laveau's voodoo shop that is in a quiet, hidden section of the French Quarter. Except Marie Laveau's shop is not on a quiet, hidden section of French Quarter. It's on Bourbon Street. It's not on the most packed section of Bourbon Street, but it is on a very crowded section of Bourbon Street. I've been to Marie Laveau's shop several times. Zippy. Now, William may say, well, this is not the real Marie Laveau's. But it looks like the real Marie Laveau's. It's even selling fake voodoo dolls like Marie Laveau's shop sells all these little voodoo trinkets, most of which are foreign made. But anyway, Levy flies there and back in basically 2 days, which is, near impossible. And the way it's written, when you read it, you think he flew there and back in one day. He just does not know how to space this up. You can fly to New Orleans from San Francisco in 3 hours. You can fly back in 3 hours. It's near impossible to do that today unless you're super, super fucking rich. And nobody goes to the airport to buy tickets anymore. Yes, you can still do that, but it is super fucking awkward and it's probably going to get you locked down and screened. Um, but there's no need of this. There's absolutely no need. His whole going to New Orleans, meeting someone at the shop was it his mother, I believe? Doesn't matter. And just to find out that the Symphony of Death is bad, evil, and you got to go home and you got to do this. So he flies down, he flies back. His boss is trying to commit suicide, but he's okay to fly and leave him alone for a day or two to go to New Orleans. He comes back, and the boss is being coerced into committing suicide by the painting on his wall that drops the N word multiple times. And there's very little use for it that I assume William wants to be not really controversial, but he wants to be a rebel and he wants to use the N word so that people can attack him for using the N word and then he can defend it. And from past history, he just really likes using the N word and the F word and other insults toward minorities. That's pretty plain. This is a short piece, though, and it's not well written, but it's not horribly bad written. It's not, nothing so far has the level of Robert Diablo. And I completely skipped the forward, but I'll get to the forward. So then we move to the actual story, and this is the entire book is 197 pages long. We go 68 pages, I believe, before we get into the main story. So you've got a forward by John Johnson, you've got a forward by William Pattison, then you've got the wraparound, then you've got the executive assistants. Finally, god damn, after all this, you get into the actual fucking story, and you almost immediately regret it. The actual story, Shadowman versus the Undead. Now, it's not as bad as Robert Diablo, thank God. If it was as bad as Robert Diablo, I would want my money back, and I didn't pay for the ARC. It is not as good as Mother's Day. And Mother's Day is by no means a great literary work. It's okay. It's all right. It's not going to kill you to read it, but it's not good. For young adults, it's okay. For young adults who love the Friday the 13th series and thought the Friday the 13th series was over back in the 90s, Mother's Day was an okay book. It's not. Nothing worth reading. It's not. So Shadowman versus the Undead opens with the hero, Felicia Donovan, who is a barely hidden composite stolen from Felicia Day, Nerd Queen from The Guild and Dr. Horrible Sing-Along blog. All through the story, William throws in pieces of her actual life that he has. I originally said that he had got from stalking her, but apparently he just pulled it from her autobiography and threw it in his book. So it's not stealing in any legal, copyrighted way, but it's stealing. You didn't write this, you took it from another person, which has always been William's problem. He stole the theme of Robert Diablo from the Saska sisters and then wants to say it's okay because they stole it. That's not okay. That's literary bad juju. On to the fact that it's not a good book. But Felicia Donovan, who is a survivor of the zombie apocalypse, and she wanders the streets of San Marino, which I assume is William morphing his hometown of San Mateo. Why? I don't know. She is alone after the zombie apocalypse. She is demented, delusional, psychotic, possibly. She thinks she is doing a TV show. Or does she? Is she? Who knows? It gets confusing later on. One day while she's out traipsing through the city, stealing organic fruit cocktail that is actually organic dog food. Do they make organic dog food? I know they make specialty dog food, but she's stealing her dog food. She gets attacked by a zombie mob, and she is rescued by the Shadowman. Now, the Shadowman is not the superhero character he stole from, was it Valiant Comics? It is actually William Pattison in his real life superhero disguise as the Shadowman. And this is what got me in trouble with Amazon, because William has this huge hang up on being a superhero. And the real life superheroes are a group of basically cosplayers in San Mateo, San Francisco, somewhere in that area. And they're basically neighborhood watch people who dress up in costumes. Whatever floats your boat. William became friends with one of them, decided he wanted to be one of them. He got kicked out when his friend decided that he was a Looney Tunes stalker who was stalking at the time Kathleen Wilhoit. William has a tattoo of Kathleen Wilhoit on, Kathleen, I forgot, I think Kathleen, it just says Kathleen and has her birth date over a big heart on his back, or is it a big rose? I can't remember. You can look online, you can see his tattoo. So, William, in the book, has given him the name Jacob Moeller, which was the very close to the friend, who his name is Jordan Moeller, who was a real life superhero, befriended William, and then realized he was a stalker and ended the friendship. Kicked William out of the real life superheroes, broke his heart. So William now is this Batman looking equipped guy who flies through the city with a grappling hook pistol, which physically those won't work. It's not like the way he uses them, but that's okay. That's all right. He's the author, not a physicist. He rescues Felicia, brings her back to his hospital base where she meets 4 people. Now, at this point, you're reading the book. Your opinion is you got this superhero and you got 4 people living in the hospital and the rest of the world's pretty much dead. There's stragglers out there. Yeah, it's the zombie apocalypse. You're always going to run into somebody. But you really get this strong impression that there are 4 people left in the world. 4 or 5. The Shadow Man and his cronies, who are pretty much all named after real life people that William either likes or hates. The Shadow Man brings her in, snaps her out of her psychosis, teaches her who she is, and demands that she be his sidekick. She refuses, she cries. She says poop a lot because she doesn't curse. And this is not a young adult book. This is supposedly an adult book. The Shadow Man tells her there's this evil army led by the messenger coming to kill everyone, and he leads a zombie army, and you don't get any real detail about it. You never know how he's able to lead the zombies. You're led to suspect that it's some supernatural power, that he's being led by death, or he's able to control the zombies because of an alliance with death. Anyway, the bad guys show up. William, forsaking his 4 friends and Felicia Donovan, goes off to scout them off and is captured off screen. It's like he swings into the trees and then his associates are like, oh my god, he's captured. And the next thing you know, he's captured and his legs are cut off, and you're never told how he's captured. I mean, he's this great superhero who's been surviving for at least 5 years on the streets of zombie-infested San Marino, and yet he simply swings into the trees and gets captured with no explanation other than there's a mention that, ow, that hurt, and he was shocked. It's just so fucking childish and stupid. If you're going to write this, you deserve to use pages not for your other bullshit stuff, but to actually explain what the fuck is going on. So he gets captured, and then all of a sudden the hospital fills up with armed people, and it's like, holy shit, it wasn't 4 people. They've got a whole fucking military force here. Why the fuck didn't you take your whole military force with you? There's no reason. There's no explanation. But now he's been captured by the zombie cannibal people, crazy human, whatever the fuck they are. He's captured. His legs are cut off and eaten by the cannibals, and it's just silliness. You want to laugh. You don't have any dread or any sense of dread whatsoever. You just want to laugh. And then, of course, Felicia gets dressed in her superhero costume that he had made for her, and she leads a military force in and kills the bad guys, blah, 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 blah. They bury the Shadowman and build a huge monument for him, which William has talked for ages about the fact that once he dies, he'll be appreciated. And sadly, waiting for shit like that is wasting your life. You know, it really is. But there's so much wrong with this book. The overall story, the blending of superheroes and zombies, that's not horrible. I mean, Marvel did that with Marvel Zombies. Did it very fucking well. So it can be done. But this is all his love affair with Felicia Day. And thank God he did not have sex with Felicia Day in the book. He wanted to kind of adopt her, I guess. She starts calling herself the daughter of Shadowman. Pardon my throat. But it's just, it's childish. That's the biggest thing wrong with this. He does not express his hatred and vile like he did in Robert Diablo. But the story has so many plot, not necessarily holes, but plot inconsistencies, that it makes no sense. And then you wrap around back to Danny Dark, and he sees the cannibals dead in his audience and not Felicia, which leads you to think, why is this even part of the Symphony of Death? It's simply because he wanted to write about Felicia Day. Why not do it as a separate work? Do it as a separate book. Don't try to tie it into something that it has no fucking connection with. And it doesn't. And then maybe you can spend more than 90 pages or 100 or 100 whatever and actually do a good, concise story that has a plot that ties together, that shows you what happens, how it happened, how it's resolved. You don't do that. You love to say it falls apart in the third quarter. This falls apart in the beginning, the middle, and the third quarter, the third act. It falls apart everywhere. And you do this whole story of Felicia Donovan's life up until she's 77 years old, but you throw shit in there to make us think the entire experience is just a dream, just a psychosis. In a scene of battle, you have Felicia suddenly come to in a hospital with her family all still alive, all those who died, saying, oh, you were just dreaming this, you were all dreaming this. So was she dreaming this? Was this all a story? Was this a Wizard of Oz? Or did it really happen? Nobody knows. I don't know. Nobody knows. And then you go back to the, like I said, the Symphony of Death wraparound. Then William ends it with not a foreword, he throws something into the end where he admits that he stole the character Felicia Donovan from Felicia Day. Now, this was good. It's well written. He talks about how he has read her book, and he lifts parts of the book directly from her book, and he lifts parts from his actual life, and it's good that he acknowledges this. And he probably acknowledged it because he knew some reviewer like me would point it out. And I did. But throw all that aside. Throw aside the connection to Felicia Day. Throw aside the connection with William. The story is just childish. It's like a young adult book by a unaccomplished young adult author. There are bits of dialogue that are near copy and paste stolen from other movies. There are situations that are copied and pasted from his friend's life, from his real life, from other movies. The fact that Felicia Day doesn't curse, it's okay to have a character that doesn't curse, but when you have her saying poop every 15 minutes, and I don't care if Felicia Day actually says poop every 5 minutes, it's childish and it's silly, and it just makes the book childish and silly. I had something else to say about that, but I went too long. Now, as I've said, the book is not as bad as Robert Diablo. It is not as good as Mother's Day by a little. However, one of the forewords by Johnny Johnson is really good. and it was written before the story. It has nothing to do with the story. It's Johnny Johnson talking about zombies. And it's pretty fucking good. And you can tell he has some ability as a writer. And Johnny Johnson is a independent filmmaker. I guess he's friends with William. Maybe William just stole the forward. I don't know. Did he pay Johnny? Did he ask him to write it? Or did he just lift it from something else? Because William has a bad habit of doing that. The second forward is by the author, William Pattison himself. Now, this was actually good, decent, well written. It's probably the best thing Pattison has ever written. Even his fake stories about how he lost how he lost Kathleen Wilhoit when she thought he was dead, it was not as good as this forward. The forward didn't really interest me because it's all about the history of zombies. I know all about the history of zombies. I probably know more about zombies than William does, but I'm not going to fight over that. It was well written. You could have written this out as a story, published it, and it would have been okay. You know, it would not have been a knock. Or you can try and learn how to harness the way you wrote in your forward for your actual stories. You could do that. And you might produce a good book. Not a great book, maybe a great book. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know what talent you got hidden that you just won't use because you're so angry and bitter at the entire world. But who knows? But that's it. I gave this a 2 stars on Amazon because it is better than Robert Diablo. It's not deserving of 2 stars on a grand literary scale. But I'm trying to be fairer than fair about this book. And it is way better than Robert Diablo. It's still not good. Very few people are going to enjoy this. Now, I am going to put another review on Amazon, and I'm going to give it 2 stars. William can like it, he can hate it. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. William's problem, one of his myriad universal buttloads of problems, is his ranting whenever he gets upset. He gave his ARC copy out to apparently a dozen people. Nobody reviewed the book. Probably because it's a shit book and most people couldn't even stand to read it. Overall, most average readers aren't. Luckily, I have a fascination with bad movies, bad literature, and I struggled through. Most people aren't. And most people, when they read this, are going to not want to give a review because this is my friend. If I give him a bad review, he's going to rant at me. And he probably is. Sippy sippy. So they didn't review it. And he went on a rant about the fact he had given these ARC copies out to people and nobody had read it. And I want to say, and here's your problem. But here is a problem. You're saying you gave ARC copies to Facebook friends and none of them reviewed it on Amazon. And roughly a week ago, you posted a rant saying that Amazon will not allow Facebook friends to post reviews. You're calling yourself a liar. Because you talk so much bullshit and you can't remember what bullshit you said. It's easier to tell the truth because you've got a better chance of remembering something that really fucking happens. Amazon does allow Amazon does allow reviews from Facebook friends. I know this. I have reviewed my sister's book. We are Facebook friends. I have reviewed other Facebook friends' books. Yes, they allow them. Amazon has no way of knowing who is your Facebook friend. Stop with the bullshit. Put your energy into creating and writing and not to attacking people online. You look fucking childish when you do that. And here is another problem. The fact that you wanted to go on Facebook and attack the people who you gave your ARC copies to. We have a past. I blogged about you. I blogged about your stalking Kathleen Wilhoit. You know that. People know that. You have attacked me on blogs. You've attacked me on Facebook. And yes, I've attacked you. You've accused me of being fake profiles, which I'm not. You even admitted, okay, you're not that fake profile, I was wrong, but I'm too big to apologize. I tried my best to be nice to you. I hooked you up with someone who wanted to do a movie with you, but that dumb fuck Derek Young ruined that. And let's be straight. Derek, the fact that you could not talk without Derek being online, and Derek is about as dumb as any human being I've ever met. I don't think he's a bad human being. He's just not real smart. He's not smart enough to peel the tater before he eats it. Nevertheless, cook the potato. Actually, potato skins you can eat. That's a bad analogy. Actually, fried potato skins, they're not bad. Anyway, Derek's dumb. I've tried my best to be nice to you. I didn't want to do this review, but the person's like, look, he's mad at everybody, screaming and raging because we won't review the book. I'm not reviewing the book because it sucks. But here, you review it. And I've always said I'm not going to review one faithfully. I didn't review this faithfully. If there were parts of the book where I was like almost getting into the character, and then you do something incredibly stupid and it totally knocks me out, and I end up laughing and put the book down for a day. It took me like 4 days to read this, and I burned through books. So that's how. And if you see this review, you can rant and rage. You can give me a thumbs down. I don't care. You can say that I'm jealous because I'm a failed writer. That's okay. I'm a failed writer. I only have one published short story. And I still make more than you have made on all of your books, including your Camp Crystal Lake movies. I make more in 1 year than you made in all of them. So I'm really not that jealous. I'm sitting here drinking my water, having a good time. As you can see, I'm not hard up on I'm not hard up on money, or I wouldn't have the 800 DVDs and Blu-rays behind me with more on the way in. That's not cheap. That's a waste of money. But that's really all I got to say. I'm not going to insult you. There's plenty out there already insulting you. Start writing original works. Don't steal the life stories of other characters. Stop stalking women and other artists, and you're at the point in your life where you know you can go out there and stalk her, and she's never going to date you. She's never going to be your girlfriend. You can't even believably claim that she's your girlfriend anymore, so you want to stalk her as she's your daughter. Whatever. That's embarrassing. That's silly. That's probably something I might have done when I was 15, not when I'm 50. But anyway, good luck. Good luck on your next book. If you send me an ARC copy, I will give you a fair and honest review. And I know you get fake reviews on Amazon and Goodreads. I've seen them. I've read them. I laugh at them. It's silly that Amazon and Goodreads allows them up. But I also know that you put about 15 or 20 fake reviews on Amazon, and they pulled them all. And they were easy to tell they were fake because you were using the same fucking fake names as you put in your books, and you were giving it 5 stars. No one who can read will give your works a 5 star. I give very, very few books 5 stars. I've given Stephen King maybe 2 5 stars in his entire career. 5-star reviews are very, very rare. 5-star books are extremely rare. To be fair, this book deserves a 1, but I'm giving it a 2. And more or less in hopes you'll send me the next ARC. You send me a book early, and I will even give you advice on how to make it better. This is a failed writer whose one book was better than this, one short story was better than this, and all the pieces and particles and scripts I have, as shitty as my work of art is, they're better than this. I can give you some help. There are other people out there who would actually give you help writing your books if they are that important to you. Writing is not important to my life. It's something that's fun. I enjoy doing. I get ideas and I want to put them down. I understand that. You want to make a little money, actually get some attention, stop being an asshole online. Stop hating everybody. Stop ranting. Stop blocking people who critique you. Ask for fucking help. You aren't the greatest writer of all time. Like when you put yourself in the 50 greatest writers of all time. No, you aren't. I'm not. I'm not in the 1000th greatest writers of all time, but I can tell a better story than what you are doing now. At the very least, you should get back to your Mother's Day Camp Crystal Lake books. Those were not great. They were decent. They were readable. Yes, I did videos laughing at them. I'm not being hypocritical. And it was because I was in a mood to do that. And it was funny. And it made you mad. But they were much better than this. I really hate to have seen you falling this far. I hope you do another book, and I hope it's better. Like I said, send me an ARC. There are people who I think on your friends list who know me who have my email address. If you want it, I'll get it to you. I'm not going to post it on the Facebook, on the YouTube right now. But like I said, I would read it and offer you constructive criticism and will not publish it online. That's as fair an offer as you will get, officer. That is as fair an offer as you are likely to get. That's all I got. If you want to buy Shadowman versus the Undead, I believe it is selling for like $2.99 on Amazon. Part of the Symphony of Death series. Check it out. Who knows? You might like it. I didn't. See you later, folks.